Hello, my friends, and welcome to We the Game Changers. I'm your host, Beth Knox, and today I'm talking with Seattle Seahawks Chief Revenue Officer, Amy Sprangers. Now in her 25th season with Seattle's NFL team, Amy has long been a passionate sports fan with an entrepreneurial spirit that stretches back to launching her neighborhood gardening services at just 6 years old. A UW alum, Amy found her love of sports translate to her career with an early internship with the SuperSonics, several years at Seafair, and now leading passionate, high-performing, revenue-driven teams with the Seattle Seahawks. Amy, this has been on my list for a long time to have you on this show. So glad that you are joining We the Game Changers.
Thank you. It's fantastic to be here.
Yeah, this
is so fun to be here with you.
I know. I feel like we could just talk all day, which we probably will attempt that, and we'll get cut off by our producer. So, Amy, you've been a sports fan and a Seahawks fan, of course, since childhood. What sports were you involved with growing up, and did that have any impact in shaping who you are as a leader today?
Definitely. So growing up, youngest of three girls, I was always super competitive, always wanted to make my own mark. And my dad, really my whole family, but my dad in particular, loved the Seahawks. And so Sundays were absolutely devoted to watching football with my dad. Still, my sisters call me every Sunday and say, "Go Hawks." But for me growing up, I mean, I started swimming competitively when I was 5. So I was on a swim team when I was 5. I played basketball and water polo and really just had that little fierce competitive spark all the way through. And sports taught me so many things, really at a young age. I think there's, I've talked about it before, but a really fun thing when I was little growing up, I mean, I just have this competitive edge, and it even transferred over to making a rate card for my neighbors of how I could charge for weeding and garden care services. Because truth be told, I love to ride my bike down to our little corner store every Saturday morning, and I wanted a little bit more money for the bubblegum and other things I wanted to buy. And my dad was like, "Well, why don't you go get a job for that?" You know, and I was teeny tiny, so I was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to make this rate card because I want to determine what, you know, my value is and how much I can bring to the neighbors." And sure enough, I trotted out there and signed them all up for my services. Didn't get a no.
Right. Who can say no to a cute little 5-year-old, 6-year-old? That's awesome.
But I think about that and just like, we're sports, we're kind of youngest of 3, just this like spirit that I look back now and just kind of giggle and think, oh my goodness, like that served me so well into preparing me for a career where I get to sit in front of the most amazing brands throughout the globe and talk about the opportunity that we have to offer with the Seattle Seahawks and why they want to partner with us, what we can bring to them. And I just so fiercely and passionately believe in our opportunity that it's never about selling anybody anything or asking for money. I've always loved that because I so fiercely believe in our opportunity and what we can do together. And I guess that really started even when I was, you know, tiny.
That's so cool because I think knowing the value of something or of yourself, that takes a lot of people a lot of years to figure that out. And so for you to have had that at a young age, just kind of inherently having that, what do you attribute that to? Where did that come from?
I think it's just the resolve in really being genuine about your passions. So I genuinely believed in myself when I was younger in that example. I knew what value I could bring. I knew that I could do the job that I was offering. I may not have been wild about weeding, but I knew it was something that I could do.
Right.
And I knew that I could do it with great results. And as you look at a career, you know, you think about, for me, it's always been about where can I bring genuine impact? How am I going to get the outcome that is desired? And make an impact on those around me. And so that has always driven me to be able to do that in a really compelling way. I mean, I know how to do 2 things, drive revenue and drive culture. I know how to get people aligned around a vision, and I know how to drive an organization forward.
Yeah. Well, that's a great combination. So now you have said that working in the sports industry was actually a happy accident. After graduating from UW, you had a speech and rhetoric degree. You spent 4 years at Seafair, which is how you and I first connected. And you left Seafair as a director of sales and marketing. What other jobs and industries were you applying to at that time before you went, before you took the job at Seafair? And I'm actually really curious about what motivated you to take the job at Seafair.
So when I was in college, I went to University of Washington, Speech Communications degree. And starting my sophomore year, I really looked at, all right, what can I do to prepare myself post-graduation to be in a field in an area that I want to work in? And I really wanted to discover, what does it mean to work in advertising? I was really interested in advertising. Okay. What does it mean to work in advertising? What does it mean to work in sports? What does it mean to work in events? So I looked at internships, and I did a tremendous amount of internships while I was in school. Seattle was such a vibrant, awesome place, being at University of Washington, so close to so many things. So I internship at a PR agency and advertising agency. I interned at the Sonics and did a number of different things. Actually, my first job offer was from Sam Perkins and a company that he was starting, Big Smooth Productions. I interned
Sonics
at
legend.
Seafair my junior and senior year. And so I got a really rich variety while still in college of what different path directions could mean. And, you know, going down one avenue, whether it was PR or advertising, what that meant practically in the real world maybe wasn't what I thought in my head of what the output could be. So it was super cool to be able to do all those internships instead of graduating, spending my first couple years out of school trying different things. So I feel very fortunate that I just absolutely poured every ounce of free time into looking at preparing myself for that. So 2 summers I spent working at Seafair, my junior summer and my senior summer. And that was an incredible experience, as you know.
Yes.
Seafair is such an incredible launching point. I would highly recommend it for anyone who is looking at getting in events, marketing, and what really any type of background.
Many hats.
All hats. So that was the coolest thing, because you could be picking up garbage at the milk carton derby, you could be hanging banners at the hydroplane race, you could be talking to the CEO of the entitlement sponsor, all in the span of about 10 minutes.
That's right.
And I loved that because it really centered me in both operations, marketing, and sales, because you had to do all things. Yeah. And I love that. I love the ability to, no matter whom I'm in front of, whom I'm talking to, what the task is, I approach it with the same approach. And Seafair absolutely gave me that foundation. And not only Seafair, but a dear friend to both you and I of Beth Wojcik.
Yes.
So, you know, people ask me, talk about, you know, mentors or somebody who's had an impact. And Beth early on was just such an amazing mentor. She was just, the way she carried herself and her presence, she just attacked everything with just this gusto of, I'm going to get it done. Here's how we're going to do it. And just laser sharp focused. And I loved that. And I took that same approach really early on and really wanted to mirror that with clear, consistent messaging and a path to what success looks like. Really feel like my time at Seafair laid that foundation for me so beautifully.
Well, and Beth also brought just a level of joy to that work. You know, her passion really came through and made it so fun for our listeners. Seafair was actually my first job out of college, first real professional job. And Beth Wojcik and I worked together for 5 years, and then she became the CEO of Seafair, where you worked for her, and then I followed in her footsteps and became the CEO afterwards. So I couldn't agree more with you, Amy, about the value of those of doing a variety of internships. I tell that to young adults all the time. Take advantage of that while you can. And you were so smart to do it while you were in college, and take advantage of that time, the summers that you have, to experience different variety of jobs, because it is a trial and error. That's how you figure out where your passion is, what you don't like, and that's actually more valuable, to know what you don't like.
Yeah. So truth be told, I also, during the school year, worked at Kenmore Air because another passion of mine was seaplanes.
Okay.
And I also wanted to be a seaplane pilot. And then I thought, well, maybe someday I could be in a position to actually own a seaplane.
There you go.
maybe we'll go down that.
Of both worlds
but
here.
I loved my time at Kenmore Air as well. I would take reservations. And during the school year, I'd work at the Lake Union Terminal, and it was a little bit quieter. So as the planes would depart and head up towards the gorgeous San Juans, then I was able to study. And then as they would come back, welcoming all the guests back through the terminal, and it was just a fantastic place to be.
What a great job. Well, and I also wanted to just touch on what you said about like an internship like at Seafair, where you are wearing all the hats, and that's when you discover, especially in sports, I think, that sales and marketing touches every aspect. I don't care if you are solidly on the operation side or the team side, the field side, whatever it is, there's an element of sales and marketing in everything you do at sports. So when you have that experience at a place like Seafair, it just gives you a foundation like no other.
So I think that's a really important point, especially working in sports and working on the revenue side of the house. So that's my role, is to generate revenue for the Seahawks across all of our revenue lines, whether that is local partnerships, national partnerships, our media rights, our ticket sales, our suite sales, all of our digital sales. So my teams, we don't actually own any of the assets that we're selling to our partners. The rest of the organization does. So we need to be incredible collaborators to work with our digital teams on all of our content that our partners would like to be a part of or entitle. We need to be incredible collaborators when we look at all of our teams at the stadium and the entitlement opportunities, the signage opportunities that we want to bring to life, not only on game day, but throughout the year. With our community department in terms of how we bring on board a rich, diverse, amazing group of partners that infuse not only financial commitments, but real impact with the collaboration of our community teams. So all of these things, we have to have impeccable relationships, but also make sure we're understanding what all of those departments' goals are, so we can really shine a light on those, bring them to life, and do that in a really collaborative way that's both benefiting our partners, a win for our organization, but most importantly, a win for all of our fans or community members. So, you hit on it absolutely. You have to be an incredible communicator. You have to be an incredible collaborator, and also just celebrate the wins across the entire organization to make people want to be a part of what you're doing, because so many people, day to day, right? We walk into the community department and they are so busy. They're doing so many incredible things every day. We do over 400 events in the community throughout the entire year, whether it's player appearances, community events. And so when they see, Amy coming walking down the hall, it's not, oh gosh, what's coming? It's, okay, cool. What are we going to do next? How can we work together? And that's special, but that really needs a foundation of trust, collaboration, and just understanding that what we're working towards is really special.
Having that North Star that is shared with these other departments. So, speaking of special, you're in your 25th season with the Seahawks. You started as Director of Partnerships, and now you've been Chief Revenue Officer for several years. Talk to me about what skill sets and qualities that you felt helped you stand out as a candidate for the C-suite role. What do you need to have in order to have that be your goal? For me, and I think it goes back to the story we talked about earlier from when I was little, confidence. So confidence in my ability to deliver. I've never wavered on that, even when times are incredibly challenged or stressful. Generating revenue is stressful. It's very black and white. You're either hitting numbers and deliverables or you're not. You can have all these incredible activations or numerous things, but the bottom line is my job is to drive revenue forward for the organization, create compelling partnerships, create great experiences for our fans, be industry leading in the way that we're bringing that to life. And revenue generation is it's about numbers, and it's black and white. And so that drives me. I've always been so data driven,
in the way that I think about things, the way that I can motivate people. Having numbers out there, I think, is very empowering. I've never been scared by them. It's actually a motivator. It's a way to celebrate. It's a way to think about things. So joining the C-suite was thinking about, how can I bring my data-driven mindset, my compelling sense of how I'm going to drive revenue, the ability to bring people together with a clear, common vision of what success looks like. And then it's all about communication, how you're getting everyone to communicate on the same page towards a common goal. And trust. I felt like I had trust working now 25 years in the organization.
Sure. Right.
I had proven results. I had great relationships. I was genuine and authentic. And I knew that that would shine no matter where I was. So my leadership has always been about, I didn't need to be in the C-suite to be a leader. And I think that so many people, they're waiting for the next thing. I've never chased anything. I've never been about, I need to get that next title. I need to get that promotion. I want to be in this next spot. I've always taken the opportunity to really think about, you lead from where you are. And,
sure. I love that.
And no matter where you are, no matter what role you're in, you're looking for your opportunity to make impact. And leading for me is genuinely about, how can I make a positive impact each and every day? And for me right now, that means, how do I move my teams forward to their goals? Like, I've worked really hard to get to a point in my career where now my career is about making sure everyone beside, coming up behind me is so well prepared and suited to just succeed in the areas that they can. And it's my job to give them that lane and opportunity to do so.
Okay, so it's interesting you referenced confidence right out of the gate with this topic. So we just had our Women in Leadership breakfast, and the theme was cultivating confidence. So I'm curious, Amy, do you prescribe to the fake it till you make it type of confidence, or the where preparation leads to confidence? Like, what's your philosophy on folks, especially for people who are not feeling confident or having doubts about their abilities?
All right, so a couple things there, and I'll start with a couple examples. Working in football, for me, most of my 25 years working in the NFL, my seat at the table has been a seat that has been surrounded by men, most all of which have been incredible champions of my career growth. However, my mindset coming into all of those league meetings with my counterparts, again, who were all mostly men around this table, a chief revenue officer for the longest time, I was one of one, meaning I was one, the rest of the 31 of 32 teams were all men. And so I wanted to make sure that in every meeting and in every way I showed up very intentionally. And it wasn't the fake it till you make it for me. It was, I've made it because I'm worth it. I have something to contribute. I know how to drive this vision forward, and I'm going to share that in an intentional way. So it wasn't, I'm going to come in hot and drop something at the beginning of a meeting and then be like, okay, I got it. Now right. It was, I'm going to listen. I'm going to evaluate. I'm going to find where I can add value and make sure I'm doing so in a really meaningful way. So it's been about preparation, being really prepared. That's how my mind works too. It's like a chess game. So I think that I'm well suited for negotiations because I'm constantly thinking about the outcome, no matter what the situation is, and then preparing for how A, B, or C might deviate from that, what my response could be, how I can see that forward. So confidence for me comes from a deep sense of feeling prepared and also very passionate in what I'd like to achieve in the outcome. And because I feel like I can add value there, I have confidence in that delivery.
I think what you said, it really resonates with me. I've often been asked similar questions of, did you struggle with being at a table of all men, especially in the sports industry? And, when I look back over my career, whether it was in sports or previously in other roles, the one thing that I always trusted was that I had a place at the table, that I deserved that place at the table, and that I did have something to contribute. And you just said that same thing. And there were times when maybe my confidence was, do I have enough to contribute in this moment? but I never doubted that I had a place at the table. And I think that's an internal trust that I think women struggle with in general, and that is something that I've worked hard to cultivate and really have confidence in myself first and foremost, which then leads to confidence in the room. But I think that's an important aspect is believing you do have a place at the table.
For sure. Another great mentor and champion of mine was an executive in the NFL office. His name is Brian LaFamina. And, while I didn't have the chief revenue title, and before I came into partnerships, or came back to partnerships, because I started there at the Seahawks, but when I came back into a partnership role, I remember him looking at me, and it was when we walked into a room, and it was my first meeting after being promoted to lead partnerships at an NFL level at an NFL league meeting. And I walked into the room, and I just kind of looked around, and I knew he knew what I was looking at,
sure,
and that I was the only woman in the room. And he just gave me this look, and he was just like, "Oh, they better watch out for you." But it was this fun, and that instantly again was, I knew the value I was bringing.
Yeah.
But to have somebody else there who
knew you could hold your own.
Oh, just knew. And
Yeah.
he didn't even have to say anything. It was just a look, and he was like, we got this. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted just to play off this topic of being one of a small number of women in the NFL in leadership positions. But the Seahawks leaders, they lead the league in diversifying the workforce and creating pathways for everyone. What are the ways that this culture has impacted the front office of the Seahawks?
Well, it starts with Jody Allen. She's just so dynamic and fantastic, and foundational belief that she has for a diverse workplace. There's so many benefits from diverse mindset, thought, perspective that collectively then just raise everybody and make our organization better. Chuck Arnold, our president, his leadership team, the way that he has grown leaders like myself, Chuck, another tremendous mentor who's believed in my career growth. But when I look across our leadership team and our entire organization, we do have the most women on our in our C-suite, with 3 of us total. But when we look at our entire senior management team and our whole organization, diversity is really important to us. Again, as I stated, not just for different thought and perspective, but we serve a very richly diverse community and our fan base. And to make sure that we are thinking of doing that in the best way possible, we can't do that without an incredibly diverse workforce. So it's top of mind for us every time we have an open position, every time we're looking to add and complement the team that we have existing. And we're really proud of who we have working next to one another as teammates, and that is a pillar of how we think about our organization.
Representation.
And our culture.
Right?
Absolutely.
Representation of our community, and how do we ensure that we are reflecting back that representation and the diversity in the community. So are there things that the Seahawks are doing that you think is a good model for other sports teams regardless of the sport?
I love the way that we think about our hiring process. So no matter what position we're looking to bring on board to the organization, we really think about from the beginning, from what the job post looks like, multiple eyes from multiple different departments in terms of, because it's really an exciting and special opportunity when we get to bring somebody on board.
Because it doesn't happen very often.
It doesn't happen very often. So a lot of people want to work in sports. It is, I think, a privilege and responsibility to be able to work in sports. You have such an amazing platform to be able to create really compelling impact. And so when we do have the opportunity to bring somebody on board, we literally sit around a table, and if I have a position open, let's say in one of my revenue teams, there will be somebody from almost every department in our organization who will also be a part of that hiring process.
Oh, interesting.
To really look at and make sure we've vetted and thought about all different perspectives, because that's just very much how collaborative we are in our process. It's really cool.
That's incredible, and that is a great role model, or a great model to be considering, because it's so easy, I think, to just get in your silo, got a job opening, write a job description, put it out there. and taking the time to get that input and go back to that representation. That's admirable, and it is a great role model for the rest of us. So you and I have something more in common besides Seafair. We're both are moms to twins.
Yes.
Now, you have two more besides the twins, and as you know, it's not easy being a working mom for anyone. I don't care how many kids you have. Share with us some of the lessons that you've learned about managing the demands of motherhood with the demands of a high-profile, ambitious career. What are your secrets, Amy?
Grace. So grace to yourself, and that's something that I've struggled with, especially early on. So, I mean, when my twins were born, I had 4 under 4. I had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, 2 boys, and then I had my twin girls. Yeah. And I mean, I should have had cameras and lights following me around everywhere at that point in time, because it was not comedy to me, but I think it was probably comedy to everybody else, because it was literally triage. It was like, who is the most immediate need? There's a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, there's 2 infant babies. Oh my goodness.
Here comes the circus.
Here comes the circus. And at the same time, I have an incredible job that I love, and I have an incredible husband who had a career, and how do you make that all work? People would always say, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I would just kind of laugh, because it's like, well, what's the alternative? Not to do it? You just do it. And they're like, you're just like Nike. And I'm like, well, they're a great partner of ours. But for me, when my kids were really small, and I felt like I was missing out on things, or especially when they started playing sports. And I didn't want to miss anything. I didn't want to miss any of those little league games. I didn't want to, I didn't want to miss anything. And so I was really hard on myself in a period of time. And I remember sitting down, and Peyton, my oldest, he was probably 7, like he knew how to answer the question. But I was like, do you feel like mom is, do you feel at everything? I don't know how I phrased it. And he was like, Mom, you're at everything. I always see you at everything. And then I realized it's my own perspective. It's my own pressure on myself. True. I have to give myself some grace. And I've always really believed the best that I can do is to be wherever you are, 100% genuine to where you are. Yes. So when I was at home, I was at home. And I felt really confident that I had a great team in place at work. And also, my leadership philosophy is to empower them to be great. So they can't be great if I'm micromanaging them from Little League field or wherever. It doesn't mean I'm not accessible. But then to my kids and my family, when I'm with them, I 100% want to be with them. Yeah. Again, we work in a world where you're accessible at any point in time through technology, and that can be wonderful. It can also be challenging. Yeah. But it really does give you, if you give yourself that grace and also allow yourself to be where you are, the same holds true for work. When I'm in a really important meeting or wherever in a conversation, I'm 100% in that moment. And then when I leave, I can think about everything else that may be in my head. But I know again, it's a preparedness, right? It's not just fly by the seat of your pants. It's the preparedness that allows you to be present in the moment, to really have that impact. So I don't walk away even from this conversation and think, oh, shoot, I wish I didn't have the 1,000 things going through my brain. I'm going to take that moment to just step back and be like, I'm present here. I'm so grateful to be here, and we're going to have an incredible conversation. Right. And that's how I've just always looked at everything. But I kind of had to do that check, when my kids were little, and I was starting to feel like, oh, geez, I don't want to be the mom who misses things. And then I realized, to them, I'm everywhere.
Right. Well, I think that's a big piece of it. And I love the use of the word grace, because we try to imagine what the kids are thinking through our own eyes, when in fact they have their own filter of how they see you. Yeah. And thinking, I used to think that I was always failing in one category or another, and learning to get over that pretty quickly, because there is no perfection in all categories, first of all. And so you do have to give yourself grace and allow yourself to be whatever you are, imperfections and all, in that moment, and trust that it's okay.
Well, and that can be really hard, because we're both really overachievers.
Yes.
Very driven and accountable to very high results.
Yes.
So that's not a natural thing then to say, I'm going to give myself some grace, because it's like, well, grace in my mind is,
That's
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it the very best it can be done. So it was a bit of an evolution to understand that grace meant I'm not settling for anything less than, but knowing that the impact I have on my family, on my kids, and professionally has been really pretty wonderful. And I'm really proud of that.
I think that's a reassuring statement, I think, for a lot of working moms. So thank you for saying that. Are you deliberately imparting some of this hard-won wisdom on your kids? Are you helping them develop those leadership skill sets?
This summer was so great. So I had both my boys interning at Seahawks, working at training camp, and those
so
commutes from our home in Seattle to our training facility in Renton were awesome, because we were all in the car together, so conversations naturally had to happen,
of course.
Which I loved. But I look at my oldest, and he's just this little dynamo, and he's into a million things, and he's so dynamic and such a self-starter. An amazing story of his. He had an unfortunate injury his senior year playing basketball with his knee. But he took that time when he was rehabbing from his knee injury. He launched a apparel company. And these huge boxes started arriving at our house. And I was like, what is this? And he was like, oh, yeah. So I started an apparel company. And I'm like, what? With what? How? And I'm thinking, with what money? And what do you mean? And he's like, oh, I have investors. I did the whole pitch. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, this is a kid that when he was 6, did the whole, PowerPoint about getting the puppy, proactively invited kids to this Halloween party that I had said, maybe. He finally was like, Mom, maybe always means no. I'm just going to do it. And so all of these things for him, I just sat back and like, this is so great. And people just laugh. They're like, he's you.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, watch out, world. But,
apple under the tree.
And then across all my 4 kids, they're each have their own unique personality and their way to approach things. But the coolest moment I had, it's always stick out to me, is for years, the kids saw me down on the sidelines, and they were like, Mommy works for the Seahawks. She talks to people down on the field, because they'd see me pre-game, talking
That's
to people.
Your job.
And they're like, that's Mommy's job. She talks to people on the sidelines. I was like, okay. So I had them come and watch me speak on a panel, and it was there was a room of about 400 business leaders, and I was up on a panel, and they were like, were you, but that was the CEO of Boeing. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like Boeing? I'm like, yeah, Boeing, like Boeing. And Virginia Mason, like, is that where we go to the doctor? But that was the CEO of Virginia Mason. Yes, that was the CEO of Virginia Mason. Oh, wow. And then dots it kind of connected, like, oh, I'm like, yeah, sometimes I talk to him on the sidelines too, but this is also what I do. And that was those revelations. It was neat. Yeah.
Right. When it all comes together.
Yeah.
So, earlier you mentioned Beth Wojcik as someone being influential in your life. And I know you've had a lot of those types of people in your life. Who are some of the game changers that have impacted you in meaningful ways over the years?
I think Beth and Brian, who I've mentioned previously, certainly have made a huge mark on my career for different reasons. And then I think I've worked with so many tremendous leaders across all of the brands that we're fortunate to partner with. And each of them offer different perspectives of how they approach their leadership style, how they drive culture, how they, drive impact. Another great person that I, really have loved to work with has been Renee Anderson at the NFL. She's incredible in the way that she does the same thing in terms of driving revenue and culture and working with incredible brands, and was really helpful to me early on when I was promoted into the chief revenue role. But we're just so lucky in this community to have so many incredible leaders. I mean, from the brands that we work with across Safeway and across Delta, across Lumen, Kate Johnson, the CEO of Lumen Technologies, is so incredible in terms of what she's doing in terms of disrupting an industry and really being a game changer. Right. So they're just all around. I mean, there's so many incredible
Taking a little bit from
examples.
all of these
Absolutely.
leaders.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dive into some of the particulars of your job and that data-driven strategy that we talked about previously. So team operations will leverage the data to improve on the field, and you're leaning just as heavily on data to improve performance and drive revenue in the front office. So tell us some of the stats that you're especially proud of the accomplishments in the Seahawks organization in general. And then, what are some of the, how has that been manifested? How are you gathering that data?
So we really think about being a data-driven organization and having that mindset. It permeates everything that we do. We often say, what isn't measured isn't managed. So a number of different ways that this comes to life. For me, every day in my role, looking at how we measure where we are against our revenue metrics has been an incredibly transparent journey. So at any point in time, anyone in the organization can access a set of very viewable dashboards where we're tracking all of our metrics. And when we first started launching this as an organization, we wanted to measure what we designed as key metrics for success for our organization, have it be visible. For us, that was viewable on dashboards. So starting with revenue was easiest as an organization,
Sure.
Again, because it is very measurable. Right. It is very numbers based. But behind that is also the people who do this and the transparency of what they're doing and what they're driving and whether they're successful or not. So we were willing to be very open to say at any point in time, somebody can come in and see how each of my team are performing against their goals. That could also be, scary for some, but not if you're approaching it from the way of everything that we're doing is to be better. It's to empower growth. It's to look at where opportunities are and where we need to pivot and or pour more resources on to get to the goals that we want to do.
Right.
Then we started to think about, we have all these data and metrics as an organization from the NFL, from what we capture from our fan data. The NFL does a Voice of the Fan survey after all of our events. So we also think about data as a way to be competitive, not just in our revenue areas, naturally competitive, but how do we win in the areas that benefit our fans the most? That also then creates an incredible game day experience. It keeps our fans coming back. It creates, a full stadium every game day. It allows us to then create further impact in the community. So we measure everything from how our fans feel as their arrival, how their parking experience is, how they feel about their food and beverage, their speed of service, the sound in the stadium, the game entertainment, the music choices. Wow. I mean, you name it, all through. And we can get so segmented in the way that we're measuring our fan data, where everyone is sitting. If they're having audio issues, where can we pinpoint that? Through data collected, we can make heat maps and look at, okay, these areas of the stadium need improvements. Right. We can also look at speed of service, so something that we've really invested in heavily. We have the most Amazon Just Walk Out concession locations of any venue actually in the world. Wow. So making sure our fans, nobody wants to wait in line. They want to get back to the action. Right. We want them back in the action. We also want them enjoying everything that the stadium has to offer from a food and beverage and retail perspective. So how can we create that frictionless, seamless, quick experience for our fans? And compelling results from having these 15 locations is the speed of time that used to, from a brick and mortar location, taken people to stand in line, wait for their concessions or buy their retail item. Now, with Just Walk Out, as they're coming through, it's 4x increased the speed of service time and getting them back to their seats. So it's an incredible result, but also our fans are happy.
Right.
And they're back to the action and the things that they want to see, but they're also doing it with the food and beverage and the retail items that we want them to have and enjoy as well.
So give us a couple examples, or just even one, of changes that you made or implemented that maybe we wouldn't even think about. That kind of behind the scenes
Sure.
that affects the experience.
So real time, we can look at our gate entry. So we can look at load of people as they're coming into the building. What gates are getting more congested or not. We can put more resources, literally more scanners to look at how you can get fans in quicker. We can look at line times in concessions, do the same thing. We can look at retail locations, send mobile scanners, more staff into locations, line busters to help them go more quickly. Audio, we've done this several seasons ago. We really looked at what parts of our stadium needed audio enhancement and improvements, whether it was through first and down or what was happening on the field, and some fans couldn't hear that. Really looking again, that heat map I referenced, instead of just having somebody say your sound clarity isn't good. Well, does that mean full stadium? Do we need to invest in a whole new system?
Right.
No, we could actually get more granular and look at targeted areas and locations that we needed to actually spend and invest in. And so it's made us really, a lot smarter and intentional about the ways we're investing in the enhancement we're doing in our stadium improvements that's driving better fan results. It's always our goal to be in the top quartile in the NFL in terms of our fan experience. And right now, we're in the top 5 in the NFL for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's excellent. So let's go back to revenue, your world. And can you share a couple of, I'll say, non-traditional or pilot revenue streams that, or the ways that you are generating revenue that might be outside of the norm as well?
Sure. So first, for people who may not understand the revenue world, so traditional revenue streams, of course, the lifeblood of a sports organization, certainly ours, is our ticketing revenue. So ticketing revenue is the largest source of revenue, locally based for an NFL team. So ticketing, and then you have partnerships, you have your media rights, you have suites and your premium products. I think I've hit all of those. And so when we think about diversifying that product mix into non-traditional streams, we look at all the ways that we bring our revenue streams to life, whether that's through community impact, or whether that's through international expansion. So a few of those are kind of non-traditional ways of how we think about driving revenue. Safeway, as I mentioned before, they're an incredible partner of ours. They're an incredible force in our community for change and for impact. And Safeway is a partner that consistently comes to the table with us with creative ideas, and just when there's a need in the community, they're always, absolutely, we're there, let's do it. And so we started a program with Safeway where we're putting our legends and our players out for community appearances in Safeway branded jerseys to really show the impact of what it means to come together as brands and create change. And to be able to put a face to what does it mean to impact for this season, our 50th season, 50 communities. So we work with Safeway to really target a range of community impact projects that really hit upon our pillars. So whether it's youth, social justice, military, and with Safeway looking at schools, food insecurity, how we can help really drive that impact and just support. I mean, it's really about the responsibility, again, to come together as an NFL team, the Seattle Seahawks, an incredible brand in this community, Safeway, an amazing partner, to really make sure our fans feel the rich contribution that we really feel that is our responsibility to steward. So that has been a really cool way to think about, it's not a commodity, it's not a traditional revenue model where I'm selling you a ticket or I'm selling you a sign in our building or a branded activation. We're going to really approach the community angle in a way that's going to make meaningful change for our fans in the communities where we live, work, and play. Another one the NFL is really focused on is international growth. So we have the opportunity to really look at, we have fans everywhere. So we think of it as 12s everywhere, global Seahawks fans all over the world.
Right.
Now the opportunity to really look at how we grow that fan base in a way that we can drive revenue is a cool opportunity. We just partnered with AWS around the game that was just played in Berlin. So Germany and the DACH region is one of our international markets. And so being able to drive partnerships in a cool way, we did Seahawks House. So a branded activation space with AWS where we held a breakfast before the game. We had over 200 business leaders from the Berlin area talking about what it means for the NFL to come into a market, that this isn't just we're coming in once and we're out, how we're really going to invest in this region, and bringing NFL football and specifically what it means to be a Seahawks fan, what our Seahawks brand looks like as we bring that to life internationally. We want that experience when you're here in Seattle and when you're here at Lumen Field going to a Seahawks game, and wherever you are, whether you're in Germany, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in Australia, New Zealand, also our markets, it's going to feel the same. Right. So that was a beautiful expression of an opportunity to really think about how we're growing our footprint and where also the NFL is growing its opportunities across the globe.
And I so appreciate how the impact on community is just woven into all of that, everything you do. I mean, it really comes back down to the community.
Yes.
That's where the transactions begin, but it's not transactional, it's relational. Can you speak to that a little bit more? And how do you decide how much to invest on the community side? You know,
it's really honoring the tradition of the Allen family and the Allen family philanthropy and foundation, deeply rooted in that spirit of giving back to the community and doing that in a meaningful way. And so we're always going to look at the way that we invest in our community through our pillars. And not only in contributions, we do an enormous amount of financial and also apparel contributions, Seahawks helmets, jerseys, cleats, supporting football programs, grants for fields, but also, really working with our partners. AWS is another incredible one where we do different programs going into schools and boys and girls clubs and really looking at leadership foundations and principles that can help really prepare our students for the world that they're coming into. BECU, we do an incredible financial literacy program, again, to prepare students for the world that they're about to enter. And just giving our community access to programs that maybe currently aren't there, so helping provide resources that are underserved. And that's a privilege and an honor to be able to do so.
So you've referenced the 50-year anniversary right now. How are you thinking about the next 50 years?
That's such a cool question because I'll go back again to Paul Allen and his sister Jody and the true spirit of innovation. So that is deeply rooted in how we think about everything, right? I mean, when we also think about the tenure in our organization and the amount of seniority and just collected years of experience that our senior leadership team and our organization has together, we bring not tenure, but also the spirit of innovation. So constantly looking at how are we going to improve? How are we going to make things better? What is the next thing that we're chasing? We want to be at the very top of the league in every single measurable metric category. We want to be industry leading, best in class. And so thinking about the next 50 years is super exciting because it pays homage and tribute to that whole lineage and the way of thinking. And, for us, that means we're going to constantly be investing in our facilities to make sure that we are the most competitive football team that's on the field. From a business perspective, we're always going to be investing in our people. So as we talked about earlier, that means we're going to be looking for a diverse in thought, spirit, approach in terms of what our team brings to the table, of how we're going to even just approach our business. Right. And make sure that our culture is absolutely incredible. So everybody comes to work every day knowing exactly why they're there, what they're doing, what success looks like, and celebrate that for them. And when you have that vibrancy and passion just translates to your partners, to your fans. It's contagious. They want to be a part of it. And that's really at the heart of it what being a 12, being a fan is all about. Sure. And we get to bring that to life.
Yeah, that's the North Star.
Absolutely.
That's great. So I know you are a lifelong learner and professional development and developing your leadership skills. what do you subscribe to? Like, how do you expand your leadership skill sets? Are you podcasts? Are you books? Are you conferences? Like, how do you help educate yourself and grow that?
People. So I love going to see people. Best example of that was coming out of COVID, traveling again, my first trip back to New York.
Okay.
It was like, I can breathe again. Like, I'm back in New York. It was just such an energy. Again, New York is a very intentional space for me where there's so many incredible people, brands, connections, has always driven our business forward in a big way. The league is based there.
Sure.
And so for me, it's just a constant, always checking in with all of my counterparts, but really just non-traditional spaces where people may not expect to see the Seattle Seahawks. So whether that is different conferences, whether that is different things outside of sport and showing up in a cool way where then they're like, oh, and it's like, yeah, so many cool partnerships have come about, or just connections from just being out there.
Yeah, I recently had the opportunity to travel to the Middle East as part of a Microsoft delegation, and it was interesting going into it. There was, I think, a small piece of me that was thinking, should I be taking this time? This is taking time away from my daily work. And yet once I was there and experiencing and learning about AI technology and healthcare technology, these areas that are so advanced, and it was so inspiring to me, and it just felt like my world just opened up again, and it was a great reminder of how valuable it is to continually be advancing your education around what's happening across the world, what's happening in our own region, and what other people and organizations are doing that we can be inspired by or learn from.
I think that's so incredibly important, because if you think about it, if you're only sticking within your industry, you're never going to grow. And some of the best new leaders and thought perspective are coming from outside of our sport. And so too are the brands that we partner with and serve. Right. So you have to have that perspective, not only of just who's across the table, but what doors can that open up? Yeah. And what introductions or relationships can be furthered from that type of experience.
Well, and I was surprised I shouldn't be surprised, because it happens frequently that when I get out of my own silo and expose myself to other people and other ways of thinking, it just sparks new ideas. And some of it is just in my own world, but I'm in a different space, and I see something or think about something that I wouldn't have otherwise. So I think it's so important to push yourself into those other unfamiliar places or spaces just to keep that spark going.
I'll say to my partnership sales team all the time, I'm like, I love seeing you, but I want to make sure you're out there seeing everybody else.
Right, exactly. So if you think about the sports industry, and this podcast is Game Changers, is there an area that you would love to see in the sports industry, to see that disrupted, some of the status quo? Is there just something that you're interested in seeing change in the future?
It might be moment in time, the answer to that question. Okay. But I still laugh when I think about the perspective or the surprise that people have about the Pacific Northwest, or they'll say Pacific Northwest, whether they're East Coast or whatever. Oh, Seattle, oh, Pacific Northwest. And so the opportunity that we have in our market, in terms of not just our market, but specifically in sports, you look at the incredible season the Mariners just had. Right. You look at Sounders playoff, Reign NWSL playoffs. You look at, oh my gosh, the Storm and their playoffs. Right. This hopefully wonderful season that the Seahawks will have as well. And still, the national narrative and perspective is surprise when there's a team from Seattle that is performing well. Yeah. So disruptive, I'm focused on our market, our impact, and where we can be disruptive to that national narrative and have that not be a disruption. I don't want it to be a disruption. I want it to be the norm. I want it to be, oh my gosh, here's this amazing team from Seattle, and this is the expectation. Every year we're going to be in a national narrative.
I could not agree with you more about that, Amy. And I've had conversations with other leaders in this region about that very thing of what do we need to do to ensure that our peers and colleagues across the country or even the world are asking themselves, what's Seattle doing? We need to be checking in on Seattle to make sure that we are keeping up. That's how we need to be positioning ourselves, not this afterthought, not this hidden gem in the corner of the country. Okay, we're aligned on that.
We are aligned.
We're going to do that.
And I believe it's the same thing I've said during this whole conversation is it's confidence, because we do have compelling opportunities. We've got amazing teams. We have an amazing, vibrant city, all these amazing opportunities, and that's just fact.
Seattle has a seat at the table.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? All right. So one of the things that we do at the end of all of our episodes is we have a couple of game changer quick hits, we call them. And we've already touched on this a little bit already, but I always love to know who has changed the game for you personally or professionally. And like I said, you've already mentioned a couple to this point, but is there anyone that really just kind of shifted the game for you and how you saw yourself or how you became a game changer yourself?
I think it was really at a moment in time when I didn't know if I was showing up in the right way or contributing in the way that I wanted to, and the evolution of understanding that I needed to give myself grace. And that really was my kids who I looked at and were the mirror for me to say, you are there, almost you are enough, you're great, you're more than enough. And then that just came back to just bolster me so much to be able to go out there with that spirit that I just have in everything and really attack everything with 100% all the time, wherever I was.
That makes my heart happy. Oh, thank you for sharing that. So the last question is, being a game changer at its core is disruptive. We know that. And oftentimes you are pushing upstream, you're having voices coming at you that either disagree or are telling you it's a bad idea. We've all been there. What advice would you have to those out there who are in that same position and are struggling with getting their idea heard or their passion fulfilled? How would you encourage them to push against this, the disruption, and actually accomplish that?
Clarity in your goals, just absolute clarity as to where you want to go, and then confidence that you can get there.
Yeah.
And you're not going to deviate from that no matter what. And I think also going back to the concept of leading from wherever you are, not looking outside of yourself to get that reflection, but making sure internally that you believe that you're going to get there, and just not taking no for an answer.
Oh, that's fantastic. Amy, this could not have been more fun, and I could keep talking to you all day long. Unfortunately, our show has to come to a close, but thank you for making time to be on We the Game Changers and sharing all of your insights and your professional journey. We loved having you. Thanks for joining us for We the Game Changers, a production of the Seattle Sports Commission and with support from Metamora Productions. Like and subscribe to We the Game Changers on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. From the Seattle Sports Commission, I'm your host, Beth Knox, and here's to the power of sports.